Hi, everybody. So this one's a little less like bioinformatics-y. It's more going to be about publication expectations, at least in biology. So we're going to talk about three main things: tables, captions, and we're also going to check out overview figures, or you could probably also call it methods figures if you wanted. But those are going to be the three main things that we do. We left off last time look at this giant faux data that I have. See, it's all the biology education stuff, exam scores, unit failure, visits, ratings, stuff like that. So there's also, I think I already said this last time, sorry. We have good continuous quantitative data in here for some of the exam scores, for example, and then like these Likert scales, or based on the amount, how much like loans do you have? That's more qualitative in that case. So taking a look here, if our first goal is tables, technically we're in one right now, right? This is not too bad. I mean, this data, how it's arranged right now from random ID in an Excel sheet, you could probably turn this in as a supplementary table 1 if you were publishing something or if you're sharing your results. That's fine. Because again, just like we talked about last video, that's that's the easiest way to showcase your results and say, hey, look, here's all my cards that I'm playing. I'm safe. So as a like presented in the manuscript table, Excel is fine. It's fine. It's the universal program. And people like me can scroll around in here and like see what everybody's up to, right? But take a look right here. I just take this, control copy, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make a table out of this. A little picture there. I mean, that's awful. You would never publish that, right? This is blocky. This is terrible. I mean, it's hideous. It's more information than it is presentation. And like the lesson that I showed you last time, or hopefully we'll kind of get to it. If you have good data, excellent. But if you have good data presented bad, that's down the drain. There are papers that have amazing data that I saw have like 0 citations because they were all hideous stuff like this. Okay, same thing right here. That's horrendous, right? The table function in PowerPoint it's okay if you just are doing something like for fun. This is horrible. Don't ever let me catch anybody doing the horrible light blue Excel or any of the other like standard approaches for this. There's a very crisp way to do this. Now, the crisp way that we're going to talk about today is not going to be, it's going to be something you would reserve for like a final, I'm turning this in type of product. You don't want to go to that length otherwise. So we go back to our little faux data here. Hooray. I think I was about to do, oh, those are some examples. Let's go back down to the data that we had down here. So what we're saying is, this is in attendance, things like that. To make this more of a table, I'm going to actually have to copy and do the values, and right click, do copy values, like I said, or like I showed you. You're going to have to do that again, and then do transpose. What transpose this function is going to do for you is, look, it turned it vertical for me. You don't need that section anymore. You already got it. I would leave your raw stuff here and see how these equations are still like doing a bunch of stuff. Okay. And in this case, or actually, look at that, I actually had these set up as quartiles, so I'm actually going to just change this to, sorry, let me just get some averages in here and redo these values. There you go. All right, so round 2 with this, now that I have averages and not quartiles in there. Control, and then I want you to transpose, just so you can get it on its edge like that. You don't have to manually do that. So, hooray. Here's the data. Let's say that I kind of wanted to turn into a table. These are the students in the data. Were they a high attender? Yes or no? We kind of have a group A versus a group B here, right? So if I have these data right here and I have all these factors, a good goal that I would want you to set up for, and you can make this style in PowerPoint, is going to be what you typically see in a clinical trial or a clinical paper setup with these tables. So I'm going to zoom in on the smaller one right here. So in this case, table 2, notice that the caption, and we'll get to caption specifically, notice the caption is just the little phrase. It's not even a complete sentence, right? In this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 categories, and I have several variables down here on the Y, and I'm just listing what I've got. Perfect. There's nothing crazy about this. Do you see how you could also make this in PowerPoint just with some lines and some text, right? Let's actually go ahead and give this a shot. So I'm going to go up here where we had this horrible stuff right there. Get out of there. I'm going to go in here. We're going to make some lines. And then take a look. Let's grab our model up here so we can kind of make sure we're looking at it nice. So The initial two right here, what you want is to have a higher weight. Well, actually, first what I'm going to do is let's make everything black, obviously, because that's going to be uniform. You don't want color in your tables. Typically, it's going to show sort of not as good stuff. So see how that weight is going to change, and then probably still want to increase this a little bit. Even that's a little blocky. But what I would then say is I would go ahead and grab just some text box right here. So I'm just going to say table 1. Oh, my goodness. Sorry. And obviously, if you haven't noticed, my camera's at the bottom of the computer. It's just horrific. I'm sorry. So table 1, and formats change. Some people put a period after table 1. Some just go straight into the sentence. It depends on what you're submitting. It's okay either way. I'll just do it. I'll just copy our example right here. Also, Arial is typically the font you're always going to want to use in science, that or Times Roman. And actually, in this case, I see my example actually has Times Roman, and I prefer that. So, hooray. We've got this running. I'm going to say, you could say that the cool thing with captions, so we're kind of doing captions while we do table. The title can just sort of be exactly what you want the reader to know it is. So if I'm looking back at our data right here, and this is performance based on attendance, that's at least a good first crack, right? So I'm going to say student performance summary based upon attendance. Oops, there we go. And you could probably phrase that better. I'm just kind of speeding through here. And then you would at least bold this up and go right there. And in this case, we're actually just going to have, and then you can copy. So what I'm doing is holding Shift and Control to copy really quickly like that, if you want to use that. What I'm going to do here is say high attendance. And that's going to be 90% or more. And then we are going to say over here, low. Okay. I'm gonna give ourselves some room right there. There we go. Okay. So looking forward here, let's take a look. And again, you can kind of match these up later once you're kind of on that setup. In fact, I think, well, to be honest, probably a cleaner way that we're going to do this. I could probably tab things over, but for now, let's just take a look here. So we're just going to say exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. Okay. And then what you're going to do in each case is you can either, since this is totally set up like this, what you could probably do is do a couple tabs over. And then we'll go ahead. This is what I was afraid of those. It would get like a little too out there. But yeah, using the tabs, sometimes they can that can kind of like even things up. But in our case, it's just going to cause some issues. So right there, because I kind of want it right exactly right there. All right, so I'm going to unbold because we're about to copy in some results. Hooray. Just for the reference, I'm going to copy these in, get some values in there. And again, so there's exam 1. And in my case, let's say that I only want 1 decimal right there for exam 1. And then if you do have something copying in Calibri, you can do keep text only. And that's going to keep it in the format that you originally kind of set it up with. So we would have rounded that up. Exam 1. And then this is high. Oh, that's actually low attendance. Oh, just a second. I have visitors at the house. Sorry. Oh, hey guys, I'm recording a video, so I'm going to keep talking. You're fine. Okay, so then high attendance. So this is actually our low attendance value right here. That would actually go there since I had this in the table over there. Whoops. So 67.7. Hooray, I'm just going to copy that in there, et cetera, et cetera. So as you can tell, I would fill these in and kind of complete the entire table like this. I'm not going to do that because then I'd have to speed up the video and you'd be bored anyway. But basically what you can do is set this all up. Then you would take this kind of thicker bar right here, line it all up like that. What you'll also notice is that we'll have room down here for what I'm going to want to have room down here for is any abbreviations can be put down there, for example. So if I did say high attendance is HA, then I would say something like that, for example. And then I would also say, depending on what test that we apply here, and we're not at stats yet, I would say, like, for example, um, an asterisk means t-test value. But then you can also do a hashtag can mean this was from a Fisher's test, for example. And you're going to have that choice, and you're going to be able to say right here, for example, we can probably what we'll end up doing is adding another column over here and say like significance or something. Just give me that. Oh, shoot. And then over here, you could also put basically values over here and say like 0.004 or something. And then that's where I would say that was from a t-test or something right there. So going from here, these are definitely the goals right here, is to get to this sort of level. It's very simple. It takes some handiwork, and there are ways you can get quicker at it. But ultimately, to get to some publication quality tables, like PowerPoint's great. You can use Adobe Illustrator all you want. Like that's technically how I made this one. But at the end of the day, it's not too bad in PowerPoint, and like things are good. Adobe offers you a lot of flexibility in terms of like the sizing and the like getting everything all set. I really like Adobe for that. But that's the basic setup for a table, the publication table. All right, part number 2 of the video. Let's look at captions a little more strictly. We haven't strictly done figures yet, but I want to give you some goals on captions. People are intimidated by captions. Let me tell you right now, less is more with captions. Let's take a look at these right here. So if I've got what you're looking at is a gene right here, technically, and wild type versus mutant patients. Now, there's certain things in here that you would need to know, right? Why are there dots on the edges right there? If there's no, and in this case, the colors are there, but if there's only 2 factors anyway, they're probably just there for fun and show. So in this case, you're going to say supplement under figure 2. This is supplement under figure 2. The bold phrase right here is that non-sentence. It can be a sentence if you want, but it is the summary. It might be the only thing your audience reads. So BRD4, these 2 genes expression relationships within each other, EFS24 and failure, and cell of origin in this case. So A is the label right there. Then you have like a miniature title right here of what's going on. That miniature title, if you do have figures where you have, if you have figures that go between A, B, and C and so on in like different types, you have sort of miniature little titles. They don't get bolded. They're highlighted by the little letter right there. Okay, but there you go. 2 things that now are included, and looking up at A, see why those dots are there? The top 5% of values in either direction are displayed individually. Done. Right there. That's why. Your reader would need to know why those are being shown like that. If you can show that without saying it in the caption, just don't say it. So for example, I'm not saying that, the y-axis is linear, and not logarithmic, right? Like that doesn't matter. That doesn't help the reader. In this case too, this is sort of debatable, but if it's not in there, sometimes it doesn't hurt to show, hey, here's how I got to that significance. Here's the test that I used. Some people don't like doing that. I just do it until somebody tells me not to, since it's a little safer of a move. But again, that doesn't usually matter too much. In this case, if I also am describing the patients in this case, that high BRD4 expressing gene people they're 1 standard deviation above that SD right there. That's also something you can include. But everything else, you wouldn't necessarily need to include. And actually, it's also sort of assumed with a box and whisker plot that these are quartiles in here, and that's the median, and that these are the 90% extremes. Probably I could have shown that or said that, and that kind of depends on your audience. In a manuscript like this was made for, the box and whisker is sort of taken for granted. All right, looking at this caption over here. This is a survival curve. We haven't technically seen these yet, but they're kind of familiar, right? Like patients down, patients surviving, hooray. Now notice in here, very quick title, P53 alterations are associated with worse survival. I'm saying that because I have a great p-value right here, lower than 0.05. The red line is clearly worse. I'm showing the numbers up here. I'm also showing the color. Notice that I'm not talking about the color in the caption. I don't need to. Don't repeat what's already in there. We know that the bad ones are red. We know the P53 people are in the red. Now, there's 2 things I don't know. The dotted lines right here, those are representing my 95 confidence intervals. I don't say that in the figure, right? And I'm also saying that HR, how it was computed, that was also what I was kind of talking about in the last one, where it's like, you can kind of elaborate the test you did, talking Some people don't need it, but it's all right. Also, it's not bad to have HR in there since it is an acronym for hazard ratio. Perfect. Number 3, one of my favorite things, and where a lot of people have talents, overview figures, right? Look at this one right here. I'm going to highlight this. This is a treatment overview figure for, here's this gene, MYC. It's really bad. There's a gene XPO1, and you can tell it's like a little like protein icon that's helping it. And MYC is going to promote this other bad gene called CDK9. Look at us. We can copy and paste drugs from Wikipedia, drug structures, and we can push little like inhibits, little inhibit signs like that. Promoters are typically with arrows, things like that. Another really good, very simple setup like this can be a great overview figure. Both of these are drug treatment type stuff. And you can notice, like in this case, the one I've got highlighted here, aprenopopt is the E right there. And it's showing with using the color green in that case that it's a happy thing. It's helping that P53 gene come back to life. And in consequence, P53 is a promoter of this other good gene, TNF-SRF10B. Hooray, hooray. And as you can tell, MDM2 is kind of a bad guy, hurting our good P53. So this drug, Nutlin right there, is going to destroy MDM2. And you can use overview figures to do a lot of things. You can use bio icons, which I've linked in the guide to make something cool like this. And at the end of the day, if you need to slap something quicker together, you can do kind of what I do here, which is, hey, you can play with some good, like I made this in PowerPoint, as you can tell, these little guys, see them? You can make little icons really quickly. If something's free on the internet and it's like, hey, royalty free, you can use my stuff, go ahead. But it's not bad to have practice with just like making some quick stuff. Like even right here, I'm making a little microenvironment. There's my little tumor cells. All I did was make circles, insert shape, and I just like went to town on the gradients, right? And look at here, I made some other goofy looking stuff, just change the shape. Hooray, see, you can make some decent stuff using that. And again, just using some outlines, some arrows, and some gradients, it can do some pretty good wonders. But like I said, as far as overview figures go, this is also how you would talk about methods. This is almost more of a methods figure, but people like graphical abstracts too, because like I've said, people love pictures. People are okay with numbers and tables. People hate text. So always, if you can make something a figure, do it. And that's also good advice from my genetics class when you do your mutagenesis posters. So fun times. This was sort of our foray into some more table stuff. This was our jump into taking numbers that we are organizing using Excel in some cases, taking these, making these into something a little bit more, not ugly like that, but kind of fun and neat, kind of like this. And that's where we're going to be able to kind of take things in the future with our projects in this class, or however you're seeing this, video. That can be a very quick, easy way to get things done. All right, so again, thank you for listening, and see you at the next video.